you will introduce yourself. Director of Finance Information Technology from Group SEB. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm very pleased and honored to be with you today and to share our board experience within Group SEB. So I tried to prepare a concrete presentation, and maybe there will be also some time for questions after the presentation. So maybe to start with, I would like you to be honest, because yesterday we had presentations from Coca-Cola, Puma. I'm not sure all of you know about Group SEB. So be honest, raise your hands. Who really knows about Group SEB in this room? See a couple of Belgian, French people. Yeah. Well, it's not a majority. Huh? So first, let me introduce you with a few hints. First, what Group SEB is about. Maybe you have some clue already. This is a manufacturing company not very far away from the Lago Maggiore. It's called Lagostina. It's based in Romania. Here you have a German iconic brand, Krups. Here you can see a Moulinex product. Maybe a Roventa one, another German brand. And another vacuum cleaner, this time also under the Roventa brand. So actually, Group SEB is the world reference in small domestic appliances. Its success is based on four pillars. First, it's a close consumer relationship. Second, there is a strong innovation capacity. We also have extensive and global operations across the globe. And fourth, and not least, and this is also something we share with board, we have a strong, a solid family shareholder base, which is something very valuable for long-term investment and stability in our projects. So over the past 160 years, Group SEB has been revolutionizing the everyday life of consumers across the globe. In France, in the 1950s, the pressure cooker really changed the habits of French people, the way they cooked. So it was a revolution, and on this pressure cooker revolution, it funded the group development. Nowadays, and in more than 150 countries, the group sells its product, and not only in the kitchen area, but in every aspect of everyday life. Talking about brands now, so we have close to 30 iconic brands. You will recognize some of them. So we said Lagostina, WMF, Krups, EMSA also, French-based brands. And by the way, you see that SEB is one of them. So the brand awareness of SEB, which has given the name of the group, is not so much developed abroad, since it is a French or Belgian brand. But this is why we have this product portfolio, this portfolio of brands, which enables us to tackle with most of the consumer needs, either through entry range products or to more premium products across the globe. Some figures. So the size of the group, the sales are 6.5 billion, a bit more than 10% operating profit. So this is important to finance the product development, the innovation, of course. 33,000 employees across the globe also. A strong innovation community. 40 industrial sites. And also now more than 1,000 retail shops to help us sell our products in many different countries. The split of these sales is quite balanced. You see that we have maybe more Western Europe base, mainly in France and Germany. But now our main market is in China. And now for the past 5 years now. Number one is China, second France, and third country is Germany. So the mix, major countries, emerging countries, is 59-41. And we also have, we were talking about a close relationship with consumers. This is also based on our strong partnerships with the retailers worldwide. whether they are specialists, pure players, whatever. This is part of the success of the group. And we also have to add that we have a nice network of service stations, about 6,500. And we also try to have a 10-year repairability for all our products. So it's also a source of development. And lastly, with connected products, we also are engaged in one-to-one communication with our consumers. And this is also a way to animate our relationship with consumers. So to sum up, I already said that we had one common point with the board, which is the family shareholder. We have a second one. Yesterday, I was listening to Mr. Ferrari. Your goal is to make life simpler and easier. So for us, it's a bit the same. We want to make it easier and more enjoyable for all consumers across the world. And of course, the idea is to be the leader, the benchmark, the consolidator of the sector, which is still quite fragmented, and also to create value on the long run. So this is possible through a strategy both of organic growth and, of course, external acquisitions. You here have on a time frame all the acquisitions managed by the group, with the latest one, the WMF group in Germany. So now that we have been through this presentation of Groupe SEB, maybe I will ask a second question. You've seen the brands. Who in this room, raise your hands, has a Groupe SEB product at home? Well, it is, okay. So you didn't know about Groupe SEB, but you are using our products. And this is the strength of our brand portfolio. So now the purpose of this session is to present you more than the strategic planning process that we have implemented in board, and we will spend some time on it. But it's to give you a comprehensive view of our project, starting 2 years ago, where we defined the specifications. So now let's go into this project part. So FAST is the name of the project. It stands for Finance Agile Smart Tools. It was based on observations. First, I need to precise that Groupe SEB is running SAP as an ERP. ECC, we have already a first project of implementing S4HANA also. And for smaller subsidiaries, we have another SAP product called Business One. So the reporting system, which is now 10 years old, has been developed in SAP BW, and it is based on, I would say, the management schemes that the group have been experiencing over the past decades. For instance, we work with standard costing, and this is a strong, as you know, it is a strong tool, and also structuring principle for the establishment of the management report. And so this tool is very well spread because it's the unique performance management measurement within the group. So it sets all the objectives. All the bonuses of the managers are based on that. So all the figures coming from the reporting tool are accurate and trusted. And this is at least how they are perceived. So the problem with our reporting system is it's getting very complex. We have a lot of axes, a lot of analytical axes. And so it's difficult to feed it. It's very time-consuming. And the executive committee was starting to complain about the rigidity of our processes. It is very long to compute new standard cost, to make any update on foreign exchange, on, I would say, the volumes in our factories. So it was starting to be really frustrating, and they were more and more complaining. And as you saw, all the acquisitions we managed, they kind of changed the organization of the group. And we had this management report tool who was sometimes not at ease to cope with these changes. So if I sum up here the limits we were facing with the tool, they were either functional, either technical, but we were really suffering from, I would say, the heaviness of the system and the complexity. So as a solution, it appeared to us that implementing an EPM system was the right solution to introduce more flexibility and to answer some of the needs which were not addressed so far. So we chose board. We will come back to a little more to the process itself. And the idea was to use the power, the strength of board to create a finance toolbox to help us with the shortcomings of the current management report system. So what we liked also in the EPM solution is the concept of separate and standalone apps. So yesterday we had a very impressive example of Coca-Cola having a fully fledged process managed in board. We had a different approach, maybe because we have less means to put on the topic, and we wanted really to bring value on very limited aspects, but then to have a kind of snowball effect and having more and more tools within this toolkit. So what did we develop first? So this was the first 3 apps that are described here were in the specification, which was submitted to board and also to 11 other editors, 7 of which were asked to request to answer to the RFP. The first application was maybe the more complex to handle. The idea was to deliver in board the 800 SAP BW reports that have been developed over the past 10 years. So of course, we didn't want to develop 800 reports in board. So the idea is more about giving like 8 to 10 environments where you can get the full batch of data that you were using in the past in SAP BW, using, of course, the power and the ergonomics of the board BI. So this is an ongoing project, and we have new reports coming in, new, for instance, about cash, about, I would say, reforecasting. So every application which starts today in SAP BW is instantly put in production also in board. And as an example, the newly acquired WMF group is only using board. They send to SAP BW their reporting flows, but as a BI for reporting, they use board and only board. Whereas the rest of the group can use both SAP BW or board. And we noticed that the newcomers, they go for board. Of course, the people who are older in the group, they switch between the two. The second application, which is a bit more simple, but which was also interesting to develop, is to provide a consolidation of the sales forecast of all our subsidiaries. So it's quite basic. We have 150 subsidiaries across the world. And the idea is that every week they provide us with a sales forecast for the current month and for the months to come, up to 6, 12 months. We didn't reach the rolling forecast yet, but we have an horizon of about 3 to 6 months, depending on the period of the time. So it's quite easy, actually. They send in local currency their sales, usually only one figure. Sometimes we break down by distribution channel or by brand, depending on the specific topics we want to follow. And then the result is a consolidated cube that is displayed. As you can see, the design was managed to be accessed through an iPad for our COMEX member. And so they know that every Tuesday they have an update of the sales forecast at group level. The last application, which is at the heart of what we developed with board and which makes us very, very happy, and it is very promising for the next step, is the strategic orientations. It's our strategic planning process. We'll come back to that. Basically, it's a 5-year plan, P&L, and this is using really I would say, what we consider as the heart of board, which is about simulation, calculation, and the split and splat function that we really appreciate. And this is giving us a lot of ideas to develop the next applications. Last but not least, it is being developed, actually tested for the time being. It's like a waterfall. We want to see how we go from 1 year operating result to the next year operating result isolating several effects, including, of course, currency effects, but also sales, volume, mix. And we also have a specific look at the OPEX, making the distinction between marketing expenses, advertising, and the rest of the structural expenses. So now I suggest that we have a few words on our strategic planning application. We call it strategic orientations. So to do so, I need to briefly present you a simplified organization chart of the group. So it's quite classical. You have the corporate functions in the headquarters, which, by the way, are in the suburbs of Lyon in France, in a small town called Écully. You have most of the functions you can imagine. And then the specificity of our organization is that we are organized as a matrix. We have on the the left-hand side of the screen in green, you have the so-called strategic business units. So it's about strategic marketing and product development mainly. So their role is to imagine the products of tomorrow, to develop them, to manufacture them, or to buy them outside the group. And they are organized by product line. So here I illustrated with some of the products you saw in the previous slides. And of course, these are cost centers. So they are not profit centers. They sell internally their production to the geographies. And the geographies are simply grouped into 3 continents. And this is the sales force organization, what we call the markets. So it's important to have this in mind to go through the next slides, where I will try to explain you simply the modeling we applied to the strategic orientations app. So the model. So you understand that we have the corporate functions, cost centers. We have the SBUs, which are centralized, also cost centers. But you see in this map that these SBUs have local teams to be able to make local product development, but under the supervision of the global SBU. And in the end, you have markets, which are grouped by regions, clusters, or by continents. Now the model, we defined an ownership, because in the past, this strategic plan was managed in Excel with bits and pieces, with mistakes, with markets trying to change the OPEX of the corporate or messaging the figures. So it was not so efficient and so reliable. So first of all, we started defining strong ownerships. Corporate cannot change the expenses of the markets. SBU cannot change expenses of a market. Same for continents. So everybody is in charge of its own expenses. And if you sum up all the responsibilities, you get the operating result of the group. So the basic brick of the tool is the couple product family and market. So as you saw, SBUs, they are in charge of product development, and markets, they are in charge of selling these products. So whether you take it from a market, area, or continent standpoint, or from a SBU standpoint, you can share the same P&Ls. So this is the basic crossing where we are going to feed the P&L. So if you follow me, we have now an hierarchy for products. So here, product family, product line. We have the SBU on top, market, area, continent. And we can look at it both ways. Now we are going to initialize the exercise, which is a simulation exercise. The end result will be this 5-year business plan. So we have, since it's a strategic exercise, we have 10 years of history behind us. And I will come back to that, but we are using a board to reprocess the past data, because as you can imagine, our product categories have changed over the past years, new brands also. So it's important to have consistent view of the past to plan the coming 5 years. So the corporate initializes the exercise. You see that the P&L is basically sales, cost of sales, gross margin, OPEX, and the total is the operating result, or the EBIT, let's say. So the corporate initialize it. If they have specific assumptions regarding the growth of the expenses of the group, they input it. They can also frame the organic growth of the sales. Then it's the SBUs who, given their R&D pipe and the products they are about to launch, give their own view of their sales, of their business across the geographies. And in the end, it's the continents who take the lead and who end up the process. And this is the final version of the strategic orientations, is the version of the continents. These three versions are separate. Each one can see the version of the others and has to input his own data based on what the others did. So it's a collaborative and iterative process. To sum up, it's a bit heavy slide, but first of all, maybe here. So you have, as I said, you have a baseline P&L which is created. This is the base for extrapolation. The main axes are product and markets, but you have also secondary axes. You can work by brand, by production site, by marketing or product development responsibility. And not everyone has to follow this. It's you pick the way you want to work. If you have a specific issue to mention by production site or depending on your brands, you're going to use these underlying axes. So in the end, it's consistent because board brings down to the lowest level, but each user can manage the tool as he wishes. It can be top-down, bottom-up, by brand, by product, by geography. So this is very smart and very much appreciated by all the users because we didn't change the processes. With this tool, we enable them to work as they did in the past. And then maybe one small comment to finish is that if you first work on the sales and the gross margin, for instance, your OPEX will follow in terms of percentage. So you will keep the same operating profit as a percentage, operating margin, and then you will fine-tune your OPEX depending on the growth you generate. Some screens about the application. So we follow here the process. We start with the sales screen, which can be managed in volume, in value. You also have the gross margin also in these screens. Then you follow specifically the advertising because, of course, to sustain the growth, you need to communicate. And in the end, and we have hidden the data, which is a bit sensitive. We have overall the P&L, and there you can also play on the operating expenses. And you see that you must fill in the ownership, or I would say the user only has access to his own ownership. He can see the global P&L, but he will be only able to change the expenses under his responsibility. We added this year a new feature, so we have a logic of versioning of our apps. So we start with 80% of the need, of the specification, and then year after year, we intend to grow the base of the app. So this one is about scenario management. People asked last year, can I have a local scenario, save it, and maybe come back to it and put it in production? So this is what we did. Now, more generally, and this is, I would say, the most concrete parts of the presentation, I wanted to feed you back about our experience of board. So as I said, we have met 11 editors, 7 were shortlisted to answer the RFP, 4 made the presentation, and 2, including board, went through a proof of concept. So the RFP was launched end of March, so it's a bit more than 2 years ago. And from end of March to July, we had the choice process and the selection, and we signed the contract with board in 2016. The first year has been managed in the cloud, but we moved on-premise back in July last year. One thing, because it's about also the name of our project, FAST, Finance Agile Smart Tools, was to promote the agile approach. So that was a strong will at the very beginning, but somehow on that aspect, it is not a full success because for many reasons, and I'll come back to that, we were more traditional in the development phase. Today we have about 600 users, and we work with two environments in development and production. We mainly use the web access to board, but for the strategic orientations, we are using the Windows client. So hopefully, board 11 will help us to have only one access through the web browser. So why going agile? For us, it was important because you know probably better than me what are the benefits of the agile methodology. But given our context, we really knew that we were not so strong on our specifications, and they are moving. And by definition, we implemented an EPM tool, board, to have flexibility. So if we start going through the traditional development phase with the well-known tunnel effect, we create some frustration. Whereas in the agile approach, what we appreciate is that sometimes in the traditional approach, the quality is so-so. You never meet your budget. You never meet your deadlines. At least I never did. And with the agile, what is interesting is somehow you reverse the adjustment variable is no longer the calendar or the means, it's the scope. So you ask the customer, the finance function, what do you want as an application? You list it, and then you will go through it as long as you can, given the means and the time frame you are given. So in the end, it's only the scope which is a variable, and you always meet your objective. Since you reach 80%, you make your customer satisfied. So this is what we wanted to implement on all our developments. We did it successfully for the strategic orientations because we were under time constraints to be ready for the process. But for the rest, unfortunately, we went to a more classical approach with functional documentation, development functionality. Hopefully, we manage within the team because there is a nice relationship with the IT colleagues and the finance colleagues, and we have an iterative approach, and we work well together. So I would say it's an hybrid approach, but we have been very pleased with the strategic orientation development, the way we did it, and we aim at developing the next apps, having more this agile approach in mind with the sponsor, the customer around the table, with daily meetings and having this close relationship. If we look at the organizational aspects with Board, we signed the implementation contract with Board France, who developed the first apps for us. It was a lump sum, and it started from September 2016 to April 2017. And the idea was to deliver the first app which were specified. And then, after being trained, after being more used to the way Board operates, we committed more in a main day basis with daily fees with Board, which was a bit released from the pressure of the wave one. And we added also some external partners. We have one person from ASI and one person from Business and Decision. In terms of resources, at the peak of the project, we had 2 people from Board, full-time, 3 people in my team, in the finance, 2 people in the IT, as an average, with an external consultant. So this is the peak. Huh? We are globally a bit lower. And the governance was quite simple. Unfortunately, the agile approach was not so successful, so we have weekly project committees dealing with the whole developments of the apps, and of course quarterly steering committees where mainly we discuss about the roadmap. About going back on the benefits of the project and the assessment, first we had a strong use of the Theobald connector with BW. We spent quite some time in having in our reporting environment both the historical data and the reprocessed data with the current hierarchies. So this has been a bit long, but in the end we made it. And as we said, now that the learning curve is over, we have now a snowball effect, and the new developments are much quicker and much more efficient in terms of architecture. The strategic orientation is really promising, and we think that we have a lot of things to do on this app, but also on the way the app is working for other needs, such as reforecasting or budget. And the on-premise migration has been managed very smoothly. And last slide is about maybe more the business benefits. What is interesting with the reprocessed data is you don't look at the past data with the old hierarchies. You are able to apply the current hierarchies to the historical data, and also maybe to anticipate with the future budget hierarchies. You can look at the past year or at the historical data. This is bringing value. We also have quite some autonomy from the finance users. And we are also able to make some prototypes inside the team so that we can generate new app ideas. And also, last thing, but which is very important, is I want to say that the tool very often helps us to structure the processes and also pushes for strategic alignment. So this is it's a side effect, a side value, but it is very important for us. And in the end, we thought that we would use the Microsoft Office add-in very much, but not so much, a bit of Excel. Our users like the presentation mode and also the configuration features. And we start using iPad reports, even if so far the tool is not really web responsive, so we also have some expectations on this field. So I'm done, thank you, and feel free to ask questions if you have some.
Thank you very much. Oh, sorry, questions. Sorry, my fault.
Thanks, Philippe, for a great case. I have two questions for you. The first question, you said that there was a second company who made a proof of concept.
Yes.
I would like to know the name and why did Board win, if possible. Yes. And my second question is, why did you move in 2017 from cloud to on-premise?
Right. So the second company was GDocs. And we were 13 in the selection team, including finance, IT, purchasing, legal. And we voted. We had, out of 13 votes, 12 votes for Board, 1 for GDocs. GDocs has been perceived as... The ergonomics of GDocs has been perceived as less interesting and maybe the tool more technical. So it scared a lot of people. Only one person from IT said maybe it could enable the more in-depth scripts or things that are sometimes useful for IT people. But basically, it's on the ergonomics and on the team also, because we've been convinced by a team, and we were lucky to have also the pre-sales consultant who handled the project management, so it was also a key success factor for us. Why did we move on-premise in 2017? Actually, we were moving our data center. So we were afraid, and we did well. It was moving in August 2016. So we said we want to start in the cloud so that we don't face any issue with the data center migration. So from the very beginning, the contract has been drafted with 1 year in the cloud and then a switch on-premise. I know that usually it's the other way around, but we are happy with now with we were happy on the cloud. It was very efficient, but we are also comfortable with our on-premise use, which for us is less costly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.